which of the following correctly represents the flow of blood in the cardiovascular system? And now, taking a look at the choices here, we see that these are all different parts of the heart muscle, and we're trying to find out which direction the blood will flow within the heart. So before we go into all of the choices, because we see that all the choices are pretty much the same, just in different order, it might be more helpful to just take a look at the diagram and figure out the answer for ourselves, and then go back to the question and see which one matches our understanding. So let's pull up the diagram. So now let's take a look at the heart diagram and figure out the understanding of the way blood flows, and then we'll look back at the choices and see which one matches that. So if we take a look at the heart itself, we could see that it is divided up into 4 sections. So you have your heart. It's basically outlined like this. And the basic understanding is that if we divide it up like that, you have your top half chambers and your bottom half chambers. And it's divided up on the right side and the left side. So we could agree that this is considered the right, and the other side would be your left. And although, yes, you might think, oh, but when I look at the screen, that's not my right, that's my left. The reason that it's reversed here, the mirror image, is because we're looking at onto the patient. So you might find it helpful if you find that it gets mixed up. It's just imagine an invisible body here, and the patient's face there, and then you'll know that you're looking at it from the patient's perspective instead of yours. Okay, so that's helpful. So now we have our right side and our left side, and then we have our top and bottom chambers. So we have our atriums on the top half and your ventricles on the bottom. And you can remember that because you could understand that A comes before V. So that's how you can remember that it's A on top, V on the bottom, right, left. Okay, perfect. So now we mapped out our order of where the chambers are. And now we could understand our blood flow from here. So we are going to start on the right side. And the reason we're starting on the right side, as you can see, it's all blue on that side. That means that it's not oxygenated yet. And the whole purpose of the blood flow within the heart is to get blood circulating throughout the body once it receives the oxygen that it needs, so that the organs in your body can receive your oxygen so it can properly function. So the reason it comes in as deoxygenated is because the blood is returning from the body with its oxygen all used up. And now it needs to go back into the heart so it could recirculate to get new oxygen. So, starting here, from your vena cava, you have an inferior and a superior, so one on top, one on bottom. This is your blood that already has the oxygen all used up, returning to the heart so it could get new oxygen to go back through the body. So, as the blood comes back in, the general order, and just to note that all of this is happening very quickly all the time. So everything's kind of happening simultaneously, but we're just going to break it down very slowly and just look at the general order of blood from when it returns to the body, because that's the general accepted theory of blood returning. So we have our blood coming in, and we're going to start in our right atrium. So we have our right atrium to start after you have your vena cava, step 1, coming into the heart, and then step 2, it's going into its right atrium. And then after the right atrium, it goes through this valve here to go into the right ventricle. So right atrium to right ventricle. Now, this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky, because after it goes to the right ventricle, it's going to leave the heart, because now, remember, all this blood didn't have oxygen, but we needed to get oxygen. And how will it do that? It's going to go out the pulmonary artery and pretend that your lung is here. This is where it's going to go to the lungs over here to receive the oxygen that it needs so it can go back into the body. And now after it gets to the lungs to go back into the body, it needs to return to the heart. And when it returns, we're going to be in the left atrium. So it's still atrium to ventricle, but now we're on the left side instead of the right. So we have this, we could say step 4. Then step 5 is into the left atrium. And then after the left atrium, then we're going to go into the left ventricle. So we're still going atrium to ventricle. And now, when the blood leaves, so after we have our nice oxygenated blood in our left atrium to our left ventricle, now we could go out the aorta to circulate to the body. And this is all a cycle here, because after we go to the body to give the oxygen to our body that we need, after this final step here, we could say step 7, you return back to step 1, because after it goes to the body, everything's used up and it needs to return. So then we could start this cycle all over again. So now that we understand the process and the order of blood flow through the heart, our cells, now we can go back to our choices and see which one matches that. Right, so now let's take a look at the choices. So is there any that we can eliminate right away? Well, we know that we said that it starts back with the vena cava, with blood coming in to the heart from the body through the vena cava. And all of them start this way except for option D, which starts with the aorta. And that's how it leaves to get to the body, not to come back. So we could eliminate option D and now figure out from options A, B, and C. Now let's see if there's any that we can eliminate. So we know after the vena cava, what's the acceptable order? Do we start with the left side or the right side? And we start on the right side, because the right side is the side that doesn't have the oxygen yet. So the whole goal is to get from the deoxygenated to oxygenated. So for that reason, we want to start on our right side, but option A is going to the left. So we could eliminate option A here. So now we're left with options B or C. So now we're going to figure out, looking through this pathway, which one matches best. So we have our right atrium here, our right atrium next to the right ventricle. Right ventricle, yes, that's what we decided. But now let's see, option B here is now saying aorta. Are we going to the aorta after the right atrium to the right ventricle? No, the aorta is at the end to get blood circulating throughout the entire body. Those were like these 3 parts that were on top of the heart there. So that's not the next step. The next step would be the pulmonary arteries to get to the lungs, pulmonary veins to go back to the heart, to your left atrium, left ventricle, and then to the aorta, to the body. So option B was also incorrect, so we can eliminate that. And then as we could see that option C is our correct answer here, that's the order that we decided.